There once lived in a sequestered part of the county of Devonshire one Mr. Godfrey Nickleby, who, a little late in life, decided to get married.
And in due course, when Mrs. Nickleby had presented her husband with 2 sons, he found himself in a situation of distinctly shortened means.
Which were only relieved one fine day by the arrival of a black-bordered letter informing him that his uncle had died and had left him the bulk of his property, amounting in all to £5,000.
And with a portion of this property, Mr. Godfrey Nickleby purchased a small farm near Dawlish.
And on his death, some 15 years later, he was able to leave to his elder son £3,000 in cash, and to his younger £1,000 and the farm.
The Royal Shakespeare Company is the biggest and perhaps the most acclaimed classical theatre company in the world. In this film, we go behind the scenes to trace the development from the earliest days of rehearsal to the first public performance of their extraordinary ambition to turn a huge literary masterpiece into a play.
And so, with no one in the world to help them but Ralph Nickleby,
his widow,
and her children, journeyed forth to London.
Will now read the resolution. The resolution that this meeting views with alarm and apprehension the present state of the muffin trade.
And
that it
crumpet
considers
trade.
the present constitution of the muffin boys
And
wholly
crumpet
undeserving
boys.
of the confidence of the public, and that it deems the whole muffin system...
Crumpet!
No,
Sir, I must protest. I must protest. And I must insist, and I must demand.
Yes, what?
And crumpets, sir. Crumpets. Not just muffins. Crumpets.
The RSC had a financial crisis, and that meant I had to find one project, and one project only, to give fresh opportunity and challenge to a classical-sized company of 50 people. So I was looking for something very unusual, and perhaps not a formally written play.
Finally, it is the supporters of this bill who will confer undying brightness and splendor upon England under the name of the United Metropolitan Improved Hot Muffin and Crumpet Baking and Punctual Delivery Company. Capital £5 in 500,000 shares at £10 each.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bonney. Mr. Nickleby.
Seconded.
All those in favour? Aye! Carried by an acclamation. Meeting closed. My hat.
Noggs.
That's me.
What is it?
It's a letter.
Ah, the Ruddles mortgage, I suppose.
Wrong.
What has come, then?
I am.
What else?
This. Postmark Strand, black wax, black border, woman's hand, CN in the corner.
Black wax. I know the hand, too, Newman. I shouldn't be surprised if my brother was dead.
No, I don't think you were.
Why not, sir?
You never are surprised at anything, that's all.
That's as I thought. He's dead.
Children alive?
Well, that's just the thing. They're both alive.
Both?
Yeah, and the widow, too, and all 3 of them in London. Damn 'em.
Terrible.
What are they to me? I've never even seen them. Damn 'em.
I was also have been intrigued for many years by the perception that the English dramatic tradition seems to dry up at the end of the 18th century. And it's not until we get to Oscar Wilde at the end of the 19th century that what Sheridan seemed to be doing is passed on again to Oscar Wilde and George Bernard Shaw. And so I wanted to know what happened during the 19th century. To that end, the RSC had presented Boucicault's London Assurance and O'Keeffe's Wild Oats. Yes, there were minor masterpieces during that period, sporadic, and yet at that time there was the explosion of the novel. And so I wanted to examine the proposition, was Charles Dickens the greatest dramatist who never wrote for the stage?
Nicholas Nickleby is performed in two halves over 2 evenings. When it closed on the 20th of June 1981, it had already established itself as a landmark in the English theatre. It won 11 major theatre awards, and not since Peter Brook's A Midsummer Night's Dream had a production so enthralled audiences with the freshness of its approach.
We were surprised at the amount and volume of response that we got, and I suspect that it's to do with Dickens having the same effect on stage as he has on the page. I also think that it's got a great deal to do with the essential matter of storytelling. I don't think that any great work of popular entertainment has managed to be so if it failed to tell a story, a rattling good story, an involving story.
The story of the production of Nicholas Nickleby begins in December 1979 at the RSC's Theatre in Stratford-on-Avon. From the start, we were given unique access to all the many stages in the production's long and difficult development. When our cameras arrived in Stratford, we, like the RSC themselves, were by no means sure that a final production would eventually emerge.
When Trevor said, we've got an idea of doing Nicholas Nickleby, he just threw it open. He just said, we're going to start on Monday, and anyone who wants to come through that door can be in it initially for the first 5 weeks, and we'll just throw it around.
Right from the start, Nicholas Nickleby was an exceptional project for the RSC. Usually RSC actors are cast before they begin work on a play. The director then guides them through a fixed rehearsal period of about 6 weeks. But for Nicholas Nickleby, a rehearsal period of months was set aside, beginning with 8 weeks exploratory work. This workshop research period was a method of approaching a production which until now has been most fully explored on the fringe. Never before had it been applied to such a massive project involving so many classical actors. At this stage, 6 weeks into rehearsal, there was no script and no one had been cast. One task each actor had been given was to prepare a research document.
So far, we have been provided with a history of England from 1800 to 1839. We've had a lantern slideshow about theatre in London and the provinces. We've had a practical demonstration of the world of music and opera and light opera of the 1830s.
Trevor Nunn is one of the world's leading theatre directors. His productions combine a scrupulous regard for text with a thoroughgoing delight in theatre as a popular spectacle.
We've been told about education and particularly about the Yorkshire schools. We've talked about class structure. We've been overwhelmed with statements about what the conditions of health were like during the 1830s. We've had work on prisons and the poorhouses given to us. We've had a lecture on Dickens' life up to September 1839. we've talked about the criticisms that were levelled at Dickens during his lifetime. I mean, his effect upon the public and literary critics.
This research went on for weeks and investigated the period with remarkable thoroughness. In their determination to grapple with the problems they'd set themselves, there were improvisations on characters in the novel and group exercises to find new ways of telling the story and of dealing with parts of the novel which are often left out of conventional adaptations. Right from the start, Trevor Nunn and John Caird had the ambition to put the entire Dickens novel on the stage. Central to their analysis was the belief that most film and theatre adaptations of Dickens are misleading. Dickens is much more serious in his intentions than he's commonly thought to be. His work, they believe, has more to do with agitprop than musicals, though that's how most people know him best. And even a film as powerful as David Lean's Oliver Twist didn't take on Dickens as they had decided to do.
For this abounding provision, O Lord, we thank thee.
Very early on in our rehearsals, I took company to see a showing of Oliver Twist, and the company enjoyed themselves hugely. But at a discussion about the film afterwards, which was very rich in atmosphere and in visual imagery and with some marvellous acting performances, I asked the company some questions about what they understood of the narrative of the film, and I think that they're a perfectly bright group of people, and they were avid to take in everything they possibly could from this film, and yet it was clear that they'd understood very little, and it was even more clear that they'd understood very little because the narrative of the film was extremely muddled, and it was extremely muddled because it had left out vast sections of the novel that are required if we are to understand.
Please, sir, I want some more.
In addition to a great deal of narrative detail being missing from the shortened version, it seems to me that a great deal of Dickens' morality is also bound to be missing, and a great deal of his radicalism, a great deal of his anger seems to disappear. Now, partly that's so because Dickens' radicalism and anger comes in the form of comment. When Dickens speaks more or less in the first person, when he addresses his readership in between incidents, he actually interrupts his own narrative flow to protest about this and that. But it seems to me that the piece of work that we are trying to do should be able to include the moral emphases that Dickens is concerned with, and it should be able to include Dickens' comment, Dickens' radicalism. But equally, we don't want to include the character of Dickens. I mean, we don't want a narrator called Charles Dickens at a tall desk and with pince-nez addressing the audience on the state of the prisons. Let me give you an example of the kind of material that I mean. This is Nicholas's return to London. The rags of the squalid ballad singer fluttered in the rich light that showed the goldsmith's treasures. Pale and pinched-up faces hovered about the windows where was tempting food. Hungry eyes wandered over the profusion, guarded by one thin sheet of brittle glass, an iron wall to them. Half-naked, shivering figures stopped to gaze at Chinese shawls and golden stuffs of India. There was a christening party at the largest coffin makers, and a funeral hatchment had stopped some great improvements in the bravest mansion. Life and death went hand in hand. Wealth and poverty stood side by side. Repletion and starvation laid them down together. Now, I believe that when we read the novel, a section like that influences us hugely. It's an aside as far as the narrative is concerned, and yet it's absolutely fundamental to the tone.
London at last! And there they were in the noisy, crowded, bustling streets of London.
Now displaying long double rows of brightly burning lamps, and illuminated besides with a brilliant flood that streamed from the windows of the shops.
Streams of people apparently without end poured on and on, jostling each other in the crowd and hurrying forward, scarcely seeming to notice the riches that presented themselves on every side.
Emporia of splendid dresses.
Materials from every corner of the world.
Vessels of burnished gold.
And silver.
Scrolls and irons for the crooked.
Clothes for the newly born.
Drugs for the sick. Coffins for the dead. And churchyards for the buried.
Pale and pinched up faces hovered about the windows where was tempting food.
Hungry eyes wandered over the profusion, guarded by one thin sheet of brittle glass.
Wealth and poverty stood side by side.
Repletion and starvation laid them down together.
But still,
it was London!
In many of Dickens' novels, there is the quintessence of home. Home is a place of comfort and refuge, but also of activity and responsibility. The home is a manageable unit of living, manageable by a woman. Ideally, a place from which friction can be abolished, where standards of behavior and taste can be preserved, into which vulgarity and ugliness should not intrude. Essentially, it is an environment controlled by men and maintained by women.
Terrace houses vary in height, but a house like ours, consisting of 3 main stories, a basement and an attic, is fairly typical. In the basement we have the kitchen, the pantry and the storeroom.
The research work has been very valuable, but clearly the greatest value has been derived when we have been able to apply given research work to the novel itself, and perhaps where we've been able to form different opinions about characters, different opinions about incidents, because we have learnt more about their context.
There was a form.
There was a form
that you had to, that your interior had to follow, had to comply with. Many of our contemporary interiors leap off into all sorts of tangential forms, but there was, it seems to us, researching, a set form. You had to have a version of your fire screen, your aspidestropot, your drapes, but you had to have them.
You had to have
because
all of them, yeah.
If you wanted to, because the form of your little world was an indication to the form of your morality and your responsibility to your little world and your family. And you had to have that form. So the loss of the silver teapot is like the loss of some yes. Identity that people could immediately recognize.
I've recently been on a fellowship in the States, and I was rung up over there by Trevor Nunn 2 weeks before the thing started, and was asked whether I wanted to do it. And I was very excited about it and said yes. And arrived here the Monday morning after I'd got back on Saturday, and started there on in.
David Edgar is one of the country's leading younger political playwrights. He's come in from the fringe and knows the workshop method well.
It's 850 pages, and the White House tapes were, I think, 450 pages, and they were read out once and they lasted 33 hours. So if one was to read out this novel on that estimate, it would take about 60 hours, and we've got to reduce it to 2 manageable theatre evenings. So that's a daunting prospect, but what I've got to be very careful of is not to go into every scene and say, how can I make this shorter? Not for that to be the kind of dominating thing, looking at any chapter saying, how can I make this a quarter of the length? Because I think that would end up with something which loses the magic of the book. Because one of the great problems about Dickens is that all one's instincts are to cut. I mean, all one's instincts not only in terms of the length of this, but in terms of the way plays are now written, is to go for economy, to go for the key moment, to cut down the outside naturalistic dross. But of course, one of the problems of Dickens is that the magic is the detail, and often the irrelevant detail. There's a moment in a section of the book I'm working on at the moment when, this is in fact not in dialogue, but in a description, where an event is said to take place within 5 minutes by the Dutch clock in the kitchen. I mean, a totally irrelevant piece of information. But it's actually all those details which make Dickens exceptional, and those details pile up in a way that it's very dangerous to muck about with, pile up to being the incredibly rich tapestry of human beings which the novel contains.
What's happening at the moment is that David is writing a scene and coming back with it, and we're Xeroxing it and reading it and casting it provisionally, just to find out whether the scene that David has written actually works.
The whole muffin system.
Crumpets!
No.
Sir, I must protest. I must protest, and I must insist, and I must insist.
Just try something. Willow, if you are talking to a hall as if you were at the head of it.
In his first draft, David Edgar began the play with the muffin scene in the London tavern, because he saw money as one of the most powerful themes in the book. He then put the opening narration about the Nickleby family history in the middle of it.
Is there a seconder? Second.
There once lived.
At that early stage, it was read by a single narrator.
County of Devonshire, one Mr. Godfrey Nickleby, who rather late in life took into his mind to get married.
It's impossible to tell whether it will work unless you give the ideas that are on the page a real chance. And you can't do that unless you've plugged the actors into exactly what it is those characters are about and what it is they're doing, thinking. And once you've done that, then you can give it a run in front of the rest of the company, and then we discuss it and we see whether or not it is a good idea.
If you come away from that scene talking about muffins, then you're talking about the wrong thing. Yes, it's as simple as that. And my paramount impression was a wonderful discussion, a kind of political satire on muffins. That was all wrong. All wrong.
Why is that?
Well, simply because I don't think Nicholas Nickleby has a great deal to do with muffins. Simple as that.
The chapter, if we're going to go by what Trevor's been saying, which is get as much social content as we can, I mean, that chapter is the most brilliant satire. And one of the strongest chapters, which contains the most, sort of, I suppose, like social document. In its purest form in the whole book.
Yes, but you see, you've got to integrate that into the rest of what you feel comes before and after.
Look, I think the first thing we need to do is to understand the chapter. And then, by reading the chapter, understand what we think David has done with it. Or indeed, I think we'll find that David has done something quite different with his scene and wanted to do something quite different. What we achieved yesterday was a realization of the scene that David had written. What we're going to do today is to say that nothing David has written is sacrosanct, and we can find another way of doing it. So and just hope that David isn't too upset when he comes back from America. So, because Trevor won't be with us.
Trevor Nunn, who tended to be rather reticent about working in front of our cameras, fell ill for about a week, But in those days before casting, the company were already launched on what was now clearly a communal enterprise. Much of their time was spent in trying to devise a variety of methods of storytelling. On this occasion, they decided to tell the opening Nickleby family history collectively, but they still intended to set it in the muffin scene.
What he's saying. Now that's the really important thing about if we're going to manage to pass on that story quickly. It's listening to what he's saying and enjoying it and joining in. So the noise...
Here they are in the Circle Bar at Stratford with Assistant Director Leon Rubin, scrupulously, even laboriously, tackling the difficulties of narration.
So let's just have the hubbub for a minute, and you start speaking, and that's the trigger.
So, there once were two brothers who lived on a small farm in Devonshire. When their father died, the eldest son was left £3,000 in cash, and the youngest £1,000 and the farm.
The latter boy, Nicholas, was of a timid and retiring disposition, keen only to attach himself to the quiet routine of country life.
The former, however, resolved to make much use of his father's inheritance. For young Ralph Nickleby had commenced usually on a limited scale, even at school, putting out at interest a small capital of slate pencil and marbles.
Isn't there a point where they should both talk at the same time? And then their individual interests become, like when this one says, but Ralph, the elder one, was more interested in money, and then you talk about the younger one. I mean, doesn't that then, you see them together in their innocence, and then you see them apart?
Yeah. That's fine. The danger in it, which we'll find out, is whether we're actually picking up what's being said.
But if they both said, once upon a time there were two brothers, if they both said that, then you'd know that they were two brothers.
And then the voices split as the story split. Excellent idea. Could we try that? I think that's lovely. Okay, we're going to go from the beginning of the story once again.
There once were two brothers who lived on a small farm in Devonshire. When their father died, the eldest son was left £3,000 in cash.
The youngest, £1,000 and the farm.
In the first version, we had a storyteller and mute acted bits, which seemed to be superfluous.
Yes, you'd come on and, you know, they'd say there lived an old gentleman in the county of so-and-so, and an actor would come on and be that person, like a cardboard...
We decided that didn't work well enough. And so we got rid of the whole device, and so instead of having a storyteller, we became the collective storyteller.
Who gave birth to a boy and a girl. Nicholas.
And Kate.
I think we found we were getting furthest with it this morning, further than ever before.
As long as it's a very bold transition, we're telling years in a few seconds anyway.
Yeah,
that's fine.
good.
Just got to be very strong.
But they sound a bit like twins when he says a boy and a girl, and then you get... Can't they do a boy and a girl?
No,
Now, a little more time for the baby noises to register, so that it makes a distinction between when they're grown up and when they're babies.
So I don't quite follow what you're saying, Roger. You're saying have the baby, and then turn that into what?
Well, baby, and then we could all be just for just the briefest second a playground.
That's right.
And then there could be just a little kind of
establishing.
All right.
Maths lesson.
Can I hear what that playground might sound like before we go on?
Yeah.
Sorry. Can we have a playground sound?
We'll go from the baby. Just go baby playground. As long as it's very quick.
Yes, that's right. But I don't want the text for a minute. I just want to hear what the sound's going to sound like. Okay, fine. But
Aren't we,
go on.
Aren't we really complicating the story that we're trying to tell?
No, we're just trying to get something very condensed.
It's got to be very quick. I don't think we
noises.
are.
We want to know about Ralph and baby noises and maths lessons. I mean, I can't.
If it's done lightly, I don't think it is.
It just
because it's the collective. That's what we're talking about.
It's going to turn out like.
Hang on.
No, we're not even. We haven't tried it.
Okay, I'm prepared to take that risk at the moment on your behalf. So can we try Roger's suggestion for a moment that we have the baby sound followed by something that sounds like a playground? Playground. That's it. Come out of that. That's very good. It's going to work, but you've got to come strongly out of that.
And although we did it in a kind of crude way, we found we were able to fill in a lot more detail than we thought at first, and people actually poo-pooed it as we went along. But in fact, when it's all put together, we seem to be able to make the information a lot denser.
And while Ralph prospered in the mercantile way in London, his young brother lived still on the farm and took himself a wife.
Who gave birth to a boy and a girl.
And by the time they were both nearing the age of 20, he found his expenses much increased and his capital still more depleted.
Speculate, his wife advised him.
Think of your brother, Mr. Nickleby, and speculate. And Mr. Nickleby did speculate.
But a mania prevailed.
A bubble burst.
4 stockbrokers took villa residences in Florence.
400 nobodies were ruined.
And one of them was...
Mr. Nickleby.
This is a meeting about casting. Very briefly, what has happened in the last week is that it has become increasingly clear that we can't really progress with rehearsals much further unless some sort of statement about casting is made. But you can imagine the problems of how to cast a group this size with that number of people. And more important, how difficult it is to decide on the method by which that should be done. And what has happened is that Trevor being struck down with this illness...
Casting is understandably difficult after an open and democratic rehearsal period where everyone is on an equal footing. But now, 7 weeks after rehearsal began, decisions have to be made.
So, what Trevor and I decided in the company of Leon last night was that we should make a published announcement of what we would like the casting to be today. And in a minute, I'm going to read a list of casting out. But before I do so, we took that decision. We took that decision in the knowledge that surely we can do this. I mean, it's not the sort of group of people who've been working together for 2 months that we can't do that. But before I read it out, I don't want to keep you in suspense. Before I read it out, I must make 4 or 5 points which are very important to think about. Firstly, that what the list represents is simply a list of characters against a list of actors' names, and there are about 75 names, corresponding names, all the way down the list. What it represents is what we would like you to consider playing as your major contribution to the evening. Secondly, it was stated right at the very beginning that we would listen to people's preferences about casting, what they wanted to play. Practically all the people who have stated preferences have stated that they would prefer to play the leading parts. 10 people have said they wanted to play Nicholas, 8 have wanted to play Smike, etc., right down the line. So when I read this out, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be disappointed. I mean, you have to be ready for that. The list is Ralph, John Woodvine, Nicholas, Roger Rees, Smike, David Threlfall, Mrs. Nickleby, Jane Downs, Kate Nickleby, Emily Richard, Newman Noggs, Ted Petherbridge, Mr. Bonney, Terence Harvey, Squeers, Ben Kingsley, Mrs. Squeers, Lila Kay, Fanny Squeers, Suzanne Burtish, young Wackford Squeers, Tim Spall, Charles Cheerable, David Lloyd Meredith, Ned Cheerable, Hubert Rees, Tim Linkinwater, Griffith Jones, Frank Cheerable, Tim Brierley, Mr. Trimmers, Mark Tandy, David the butler, Norman Tyrrell, Dr. Lumby, Rod Horn, Mrs. Snorley, Lucy Dale, the keeper, Alan Gill, Mr. Brooker, Clyde Pollitt, Walter Bray...
Just keep smiling, darling.
It's quite a surprise. Come on.
It was a shock, but it was a surprise.
Six of the company are unhappy about the casting and decide to leave the production. There will be a few more cast changes as the company leaves the experimental stage and the actors prepare to take on their individual roles. After a holiday break, the company resumed their rehearsals in Newcastle, where the RSC perform an annual season.
In the last 2 weeks, David Edgar has come back from America and brought with him the first draft of Part 1. And it's about 1.5 inches thick. So that's one problem that we're going to have to solve. But it's very interesting what's happened to the character of Kate. In the book, Kate Nickleby, like a lot of Dickens's heroines, is, well, she borders on the wet for a lot of the time. Her reactions are rather stereotyped. Dickens tends to enshrine his women. He tends to Virgin Mary-eyes them. You know, he finds it very difficult to write young women with the same objective eye that he writes all the other human beings that go into his books.
Ah, young Nicholas, I suppose. Good morning, sir. And, Kate?
That is correct, sir. These are...
Well, ma'am, and how do you do? You must bear up against sorrow, ma'am. Husbands die every day, and wives also. Didn't mention how he died.
The doctors could attribute it to no particular disease. We have reason to suppose that he died of a broken heart.
Huh.
In the first version, before David added the rewrites, Kate was acting very much as she does in Dickens's chapter. She's quiet, very feminine, and she doesn't say much at all.
So what's your daughter fit for, madam?
Kate has been well educated, sir. Tell her uncle, dear, how far you went in French and extras.
French? And extras were. Glad to see. And you, sir? I suppose you're willing to work?
Yes, of course I am.
But David, very cleverly, has added a little coda to the scene, really. Nicholas has a passage where he fantasizes about what might happen if he takes the job in Yorkshire, and he says, who knows, perhaps there'll be some young nobleman or other at the school.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, and who knows, Kate? Perhaps there will be some young nobleman or other at the school who takes a fancy to me, and I'll become his travelling tutor when he leaves, and we'd get back from the continent, and perhaps his father would procure me some handsome appointment in his household or his business, yes? Perhaps he might even fall in love with Kate.
And David has added Kate, very simply saying to Ralph,
We're a simple family. We were born and bred in the country. We've never been apart. And we are unacquainted with the world.
Well then, my dear.
It will take time for us to understand it, to apply ourselves to make our way in it, and to bear that separation which necessity now forces on us. I'm sure you understand.
and that's just one example of how David has begun to fill the character of Kate out and give the actress something to hold on to.
I wanted to give a hint at this point that actually, in a way, Kate is more perceptive, practical than Nicholas. I mean, Nicholas goes off in this rite of fancy, and Kate senses that Ralph doesn't. I mean, she's actually trying to be helpful there. Ralph doesn't understand that it's different in the country. She's more socially sensitive, really.
Why does Ralph do what he does? I never explained in the book at all why he accepts this risk. He complains about the responsibility, the expectations. Yet he does it.
It doesn't cost him much, does it?
Well, no, but why does he do anything? He doesn't have to do anything. If he's...
Doesn't he have to be seen to do the right thing?
No, he doesn't care what people think. That's said often.
Not at all, does he?
No, I don't think he cares two hoots what people think.
I think the real fear is that they're going to disrupt your life, John. I think that's the main thing that Ralph has a problem about, is that it's all been fine up until now. My life is cut and dried, it's comfortable, I've worked it out, I know how I like to live. And suddenly into London comes this little group of people who are going to start messing it up. They're going to want to come round.
In every passage of dialogue, Ralph is shown to have perhaps a bark that's worse than his bite.
It's also important, I think, that I mean, an awful lot of the book is about Ralph, and that Ralph is an entertaining character. And it's not that he's a Richard III, but I think it's in the same neck of the dramatic woods that I think his self-honesty, his his flashes of extremely arid humour, but nonetheless they're there. I mean, I think it's very important that which is why I chose to isolate that moment, that in the London tavern, amid all this rhetoric and bombast and stupidity, Ralph is the only one who just does what is practical, what is necessary in order for the thing to happen. Mr. Ralph Nickleby seconded the motion. The majesty is that in 400 or 500 pages of the book, we realize that his view of reality, which we found in a sense, as I think everybody does sometimes, attractive, is in fact based on a much too pessimistic assessment of human nature.
I mean, there's probably a very strong social reason in the fabric of the society why the only relation has got to be appealed to. I think we should feel that that speech he makes.
That is precise. I mean, that is the point that I'd arrived at.
Yes. Because you don't actually know what he does. There isn't a name that Dickens gives to his work. He does many things, Dickens suggests, doesn't he? And that seems to be sort of slightly surreptitious and quiet and sort of cloaked activity. And,
Keeps his own counsel,
that's right.
doesn't he?
So he doesn't want little bits in the paper, and things like that.
He's not a miser. He's got a house opulently furnished. I mean, Kate is astonished when she goes there to see all this gear all over the place.
But would there not be scandal? I mean, if a little scandal.
Yes,
if we
it probably would be. There probably would be talk.
Because he ostensibly is a very respected figure, isn't he, in many areas of business.
I mean, he is concerned about skeletons in cupboards, as we've later discovered.
I must say, I don't perceive that either in the scenes that we've got to play or in the original novel, that there is any fear in Ralph of social scandal. It seems to me that he's much more direct and positive about his decisions. He's not taking any of these decisions negatively or fearfully. I mean, it seems to me he's perfectly capable of deciding that he is not going to give any money or any assistance if
that's the decision he comes to.
That's
he'll
where
back it
he's
up.
arrived at, yeah.
Ralph sends Nicholas off to do the boys' hall in Yorkshire, but he allows Kate and her mother to stay together in London. He invites Kate to a party he is giving for his business associates, Lord Verisopht and Sir Mulberry Hawk. They reveal lecherous intentions towards Kate, and though Ralph is unhappy about it, he's unwilling to intervene for fear of upsetting his business relations with them. Finally, Kate, played now by Emily Richard, is driven to seeking a confrontation with her Uncle Ralph.
Oh, my dear, what is it? Well, sit down. Sit down and tell me what's the matter.
Uncle, I have been wronged. My feelings have been hurt, wounded, insulted, and by men who are your friends.
What friends? I have no friends.
Well, by the men I met here, then, and have been persecuting me. And if they are not your friends, and you know what they are, more shame on you for bringing me among them.
There's something of your brother in you, I can see.
I hope there is. I shall be proud to know it. I will not bear these insults any longer.
Insults? What do you mean?
What do I mean? You asked me that, Uncle. Remember what took place in this house. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to shout and get angry and violent, but you don't know what I have suffered. Of course, you cannot tell what being a young woman feels like. I can't expect you to. But when I tell you that my heart is breaking, I'm wretched. All I can ask is that you believe me. Uncle, I have had no counselor, no one to help or protect me. Mother thinks that they are honorable men, distinguished. And that sad delusion is the only thing she has to make her happy. How can I undeceive her? Uncle, you're the only person left. You're my only friend at hand, almost my only friend at all. Uncle, I need your help.
Help? How can I help you?
By telling them to stop, to leave me be. So will you tell them, Uncle?
No! They are my friends in business. I cannot afford to have them as my enemies. Now, please understand. Some girls would be proud to have such gallants at their feet, and even if they are just for a time. Oh, they'll soon find some other entertainment. Now, surely it's not too much to bear. Just for a time.
Just for a time. I am to be degraded, debased, just for a time. Uncle, you've been selling me.
Yes, cry, cry. You're right to cry. But not to give way back in there. Oh, that was even righter. You are right not to let him see you cry. I shall see you soon, and so will somebody else. Yes, yes.
I must go. Bless you.
Same to you.
Nickleby, it's morning come and well iced already. Come on now, Nickleby, tumble up, will you?
Do the Boys' Hall in Yorkshire, where Nicholas has taken the job of assistant master to the savage Wackford Squeers, and where the most inflammatory and perhaps the most moving and memorable passages in both book and play take place.
Second boy, coach 13, bastard. Third boy, Graham Ash 11, another bastard.
Fourth boy, Jerry's 8, disfigured.
Fifth boy, Bobs. Oh, 11.
Simpleton.
Fifth boy, Bobs. 11. Simpleton.
Mrs. Squeers is giving the boys their regular ration of brimstone and treacle. Holding the bowl is the poor drudge Smike, whom Nicholas befriends and later becomes a central character in the story. Crippled Smike and the gallant and generous young Nicholas become devoted to each other, and their friendship is the central story of the play. Smike was played with extraordinary intensity by the young actor David Threlfall.
Roger and I went to the village of Bowes, which is near Barnard Castle. The weather was as it was in the novel. It was snow everywhere and just one road through the village. And on the left-hand side was this low crop of buildings, and this was supposed to be Do the Boys' Hall. And we went to this place, Roger and I, and it was bloody grim. I mean, really bleak. The countryside around was... I mean, we took a few snapshots. And we actually went around the back, and but it's all there. You can see the kind of courtyard, and it fits. It seems to fit the description. In fact, it's supposed to be called the Bowes Academy, run by a man called William Shaw.
The Yorkshire schools in the early 19th century were appalling, and they were a great social scandal. And there are contemporary accounts of how 9 and 10 children in one school went completely blind because of their diet and the way they were maltreated. And they were social dustbins. If parents had children who were deformed and they were embarrassed by them, or if children were illegitimate, or if a black child popped up in the middle of a white family, or sometimes children of gullible parents who believed the adverts and couldn't believe their luck that they'd found such a cheap school. But most of the children in these schools were just forgotten, and they were deliberately forgotten. The code phrase that was used in the advertisements for these schools was "no vacations." And if you knew what that was about, you knew that that meant that you didn't ever have to see that child again.
Hey, Johnny. Johnny Jackson, 13, illegitimate.
We have got 43 actors, and that is a terrifically valuable resource. And Dickens calls for a very large number of dirty and deformed boys. And we surely should be able to create them with the resources of the company, rather than hiring a whole lot of fresh-faced young children who will look even less like they've been through the rigors of Do the Boys' Hall than actors could if they've been through a long rehearsal period, trying to find out how to behave like those boys. So this afternoon, we're going to have our first rehearsal in trying to get them to behave like the sort of boys that Dickens describes. When you're alone, completely, with your thoughts completely cut off from everybody else, why do you think you were sent here? What is the explanation you give to yourself when you're completely on your own as to why you were sent here? Now, what's the story in public? What's the answer in public to the same question? It's very difficult for actors to appear with any reality on stage if they have not investigated the mental processes of the characters they're playing.
Belling. What's your name? Johnny.
A community as closed as Do the Boys Hall would be one in which everybody knows all the details of one another's lives. John Greymarsh.
John Greymarsh.
If you find yourself with a couple of spare hours, who do you want to be? I mean, if you did an acting out game, what characters would you give yourselves? How big is your world? How big is your sample? And in the hierarchy of this group, who would get what parts? Sort it out in character. Actually decide what it is you're going to play today. It's a group of people completely starved of any sort of imaginative life.
I think one of us should be Wackford. You can be Wackford. You be Wackford.
He's having a big dinner party.
What you mean, old Wackford? Pig? Or Wackford kid? Piggy.
And he's having his big dinner party. And he's sitting there with all these puddings.
Sure enough, one of the boys pretends to be the son of the schoolmaster, young Wackford Squeers. I think he was eating a meal. Clearly, that's one of the real fantasies that would go on in a place like that, is food and pretending to be somebody who gets food. Different boys were reacting in different ways to the idea of playing a game.
Here I am, all on my own, eating all this food. And who's that?
My shoelace is undone.
Get up.
Wackford.
Get up.
I want you to fasten it.
Get up, I'll tell my dad of you.
Fasten Billy's shoelace.
Get up my phone.
Go on, Wackford.
Hey, stop it.
Go on.
No, stop it.
Go on, Wackford.
No, you didn't.
Go on, Wackford.
Do my shoelace.
Go on.
Stop it.
Go on,
Do my
Wackford.
shoelace.
Go on.
No, look.
Go on.
Come
You
on,
said it was a game.
Your
Get
dad's
up.
gone away from it.
Get up. Go
on, Piggy.
Do it.
Robert Arthur Snorley, Mum.
Number?
I'm 11.
Number 13.
13.
It's perfectly possible to have a chorus of children whom you nearly but don't quite believe in, if the child that you must believe in most of all, you do believe in. And I think that David Threlfall's achievement as the character of Smike is that one believes in his isolation and his abilities totally.
Can I imagine that they would very often be together, because they're both despised in completely different ways, but actually young Wackford must get lonely sometimes.
What do you think the world is like?
You're smiling, aren't you? Stop it.
Do you have any perception of what the world is like? How big is the world? Does the word France mean anything to you?
You don't know anything, do you? You don't know anything.
Share with each other
Stop smiling.
the real perceptions, the truths, the lies, the half-truths, ideas of what it is like to go with somewhere else. Whether it's where you originally come from, or somewhere you've been, or something you've heard about, fiction, whatever.
What's it going to be like if ever you get out of here? It's a very moving passage in the play where Nicholas is talking to Smike And Smike clearly has no conception about what life is like outside the school at all. And Nicholas says, I've got to go away. And Smike says, what's it like in Away? He thinks Away is a country or a place. And he says, is Away as bad as it is here? I mean, he's lost all sense of contact with the outside world.
Please don't, for God's sake. I cannot bear it. They are more hard on you, I know, but please.
Except for you, I'd die. They kill me.
No, I tell you, you'll be better off when I'm gone.
You gone?
Yes,
You going?
I was, speaking my thoughts.
Please, tell me. Will you? Will you go?
I shall be driven to it, yes. To go away.
Please, tell me. Is Away as bad as here?
Oh, no, there's nothing.
Can I meet you there? Away.
Well, yes. You can, of course.
Can meet you there. Away. And I will find you. In a way.
You would. And if you did, I'd try to help you.
After the publication of Nicholas Nickleby in 1839, many Yorkshire schools were forced to shut down. In his book, Dickens was aware of the gloom and horror he was conjuring up, and to make this more acceptable to his readers, he introduced a subsidiary comic plot inside the school about Squeer's daughter Fanny, and this gives the RSC a chance to go flat out for comedy.
So are you pleased with my news?
Fanny, played by Suzanne Burtish, is another of the many studied and bravura performances. Fanny is very unattractive and pretends she and Nicholas are in love to keep pace with her pretty friend Tilda Price, who's already engaged to the blunt John Browdy.
Oh, Tilda.
Fanny,
What? Engaged? But no, not exactly engaged, not exactly. But going to be. There is no question.
Fanny! That is wonderful.
Because you see his very presence, coming here to live with us beneath this roof and under the most mysterious circumstances.
Perhaps the most sort of near the edge thing we did was with Fanny Squeers, who has a pretty friend, a very classic situation. She's slightly more, views herself as being slightly more genteel than the pretty friend as a way of, you know, a very classic relationship between two young women. The pretty one and the clever one, though in this case the pretty one and the slightly more genteel one. The only thing Dickens seems to be unable ever to do is to feel sorry for Fanny Squeers when Nicholas, in a very ham-fisted, very insensitive, partly inexperience, it's partly insensitivity, in a very insensitive way, makes Fanny Squeers very unhappy by rejecting her advances in a public and thoughtless way. And I think I've tried to write that, and it's involved changing words. It's also involved putting certain words that Dickens writes himself into the mouth of Nicholas, certain descriptions of what is going on, which by putting them into the mouth of Nicholas, in a sense, expose what he's doing or what he's not doing, or what he's thinking or not thinking, in a way that I think makes Fanny Squeers a richer and certainly a more sympathetic figure, a more understandable figure, than Dickens has chosen to describe her. Dickens' description of her is, in a sense, at odds with what Dickens has written. What Dickens has written for her to do and say is actually more acute and recognisable than his rather tendentious and rather pompous way of describing her.
Your servant, Mum.
We are only waiting for one more gentleman. So, would you care for tea?
It was a matter of equal moment to Nicholas whether they were waiting for one gentleman or 20. So he received the intelligence with perfect unconcern. Being out of spirits, not seeing any special reason why he should make himself agreeable, looked out of the window and sighed. Nicholas on his feet is different than Nicholas in the book, which I think in the book he becomes a bit tedious, I think. And I think the right decision has been made to actually incorporate the narrative passages, because we're dealing with a novel, and to make them work, and actually to find that you have a character who can actually observe his own movements and his own situations in the third person gives him a dimension which is extraordinary. Your servant, Mark.
We are only waiting for one more gentleman, so would you care for tea?
It was a matter of equal moment to Nicholas whether they were waiting for one gentleman or 20. So he received this intelligence with perfect unconcern, and being out of spirits and not seeing any special reason why he should make himself agreeable, he looked out of the window and sighed.
Oh, Mr. Nickleby.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please don't apologize.
That gives you several things to do at once. It means that you can be the actor, Roger Reeves, playing Nicholas, and I can then be absolutely committed to the character of Nicholas, and then I can be observing the character as much as the audience is. And of course, those differences, although they're, I mean, it's very hard for an audience to know when I've stepped out of one or the other. Of course, are delightful to play upon, and they give you added facets of your character and opportunities to make an audience laugh or be moved in a way that I've not experienced before.
Engaged? Well, no, not exactly. Not exactly as it were engaged, but going to be, there is no question.
Fanny, that is wonderful.
Because you see his very presence, coming here to live with us beneath this roof, and under the most mysterious circumstances. Almost, you see, as if he...
Fanny, what's he said?
What do you mean?
I mean, what has he said?
Don't ask me what he said, my dear, if you'd only seen his look. Was it like this? Like that?
John looked at me like that.
Well, so did he, like that entirely, only rather more genteel.
Well, then, that's it.
That's what?
He must mean something if he looks like that. He must feel something very strong.
Oh! Oh, I'm so jealous of you, Tilda.
Why?
Because you were so fortunate that your mamma and papa are so readily agreeable to your engagement. Indeed, appear not to have thought twice about it. Whereas my mother and father are so bitterly opposed to my dear Nicholas, and will throw all kinds of obstacles in our path, force us to meet in secret, deny our passion. Oh, that my course of love were half as simple, quiet and smooth as yours.
I cannot wait to see him.
Oh, I am shaking.
Yes, I know just how you feel.
Shh. There he is. Tilda.
What? Shh. Just say, come in.
Come in. Come in.
Oh, I'm sorry, I understood from Mr. Squeers.
Oh, yes, that's right. Father has been called away on urgent business, but you won't mind that. I'd went off.
And Nicholas opened his eyes at this, but he turned the matter off very coolly, not minding particularly about anything just then, and went through the ceremony of introduction to the miller's daughter with as much grace as he could muster. Your servant, ma'am.
We are only waiting for one more, gentlemen.
It was a matter of equal moments to Nicholas whether they were waiting for one gentleman or 20. Being out of spirits and not seeing any special reason why he should make himself agreeable, looked out of the window and sighed.
Oh, Mr. Nickleby.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please, don't apologise. Perhaps your languor is occasioned by my presence, but please don't mind me. You may behave just as you would if you two were alone.
Tilda, I'm ashamed of you.
And here the two friends burst into a variety of giggles, glancing from time to time at Nicholas, who in a state of unmixed astonishment gradually fell into one of irrepressible amusement.
Come now, Mr. Nickleby. Will you have tea?
Yes, certainly. I'm honoured and delighted.
Yeah. Oh, with some bread and butter.
Please.
Well, John?
Well, lass.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Nickleby, Mr. John Browdy.
Your servant, sir.
Yours to command, sir.
Please, Mr. Browdy, sit down.
Old woman gone away, be she?
She has.
At schoolmaster and all?
Yes.
And just the four of us?
That's right. Oh, do have some bread and butter.
They won't get bread and butter every night, eh, ma'am? In fact, I tell you, if they stay here long enough, they'll end up now with skin and bone. Yeah, Fanny? Now with skin and bone, eh? I tell you, last teacher I had here, when he turned sideways, you couldn't tell he was there.
Sir, I don't know if your perceptions are quite keen enough to enable you to understand that your remarks are highly offensive to me and to my employer. But if they are, please have the goodness to...
If you say one more word, John, only half a word, I'll never speak to you again.
Oh, well, I'll keep my mouth shut then, eh?
Annie, what's the matter? Nothing. There was never any danger of an altercation, was there, Mr. Nickleby?
I know, of course not.
Say something kind to her.
Why, what?
Or better, why don't John and I go off next door and leave you two together for a little while?
Whatever for?
Whatever for? And her dressed up so beautifully and looking really almost handsome. I'm ashamed of you.
My dear girl, what is it to me how she looks or how she's dressed? It's hardly my concern.
Don't call me a dear girl, or Fanny'll be saying it's my fault. Come, we'll have a game at cards. Phoebe, dear, please clear the table.
Hello, Stephen Oliver. How do you do? Hello. Come on, you. Hello. Can everyone get to a script? This is easily going to be the most embarrassing afternoon of my life, since we haven't really talked about this at all, and they may hate it. But what...
Let me just...
Oh.
Can I just briefly explain to you what this is all about before we start?
Yeah, go on, talk.
This afternoon is by way of being experimental. This will be the first rehearsal that we use music in. So we're not doing this rehearsal as an attempt to find a finished product for this section. We're doing it to try out various ideas that we've been talking about with Stephen, various ways of using music in the narrative passages. Stephen is going to teach you the musical content that comes at the end of the passage, which the whole thing will build up to, yeah?
That's right. The sequence of events in this is quite simple. There's a foggy morning, a rather doleful little scene, and then gradually their spirits revive and they're on the march, right? Now, to get to that point, we really have to learn the march that they're on to. The first two narrative passages on this page, it was by this time within an hour of noon, will be underscored by the following sounds, which gradually get more and more rhythmical until they become a tune, what passes for a tune. And what I want to do is this. I want you to everyone to sing on R. 2, 3. Just short notes. Not quite. We've had two meetings, and I put forward several ways in which I thought a chorus could be used. In perhaps a rather operatic way, or an atmospheric way,
or even voicing some of the sentiments of the characters.
Fine, you've got it. Now, I'll keep clapping, right? And start again. Now, just vary the rhythm. Yes, very good. Go on. Oh, yes, that's right. Now, that's very good, because now it's spreading into the low note.
One of the most interesting things about the way we're thinking about approaching this show is trying not to write a Dickens musical. In other words, it won't stop at an emotive point and then someone will sing a song about their feelings. What I think we hope to try and do is to make the music some part of the narrative structure as well.
Broad, fine, honest sun lighted up the green pastures. Very good. Pastures, okay? Pastures, very good. A broad, fine, honest sun lighted up the green pastures. Good. Next line. And dimpled water with the semblance of summer.
We are, in these 4 pages, travelling from Golden Square on a foggy morning in spring into the country on our way to Portsmouth, and it becomes a lovely day. A glad, happy day. Now, that is obviously going to start darkly and end up brightly. That's really almost as far as I can go, though I did think that a blaze of glory should happen when we realized the sun was there. And one of the wonderful things about Dickens, if I can find the page, is that he, although his writing in narrative prose is often very cliched, he will very happily write lines like, "They pushed onward with the strength of lions," which is nothing at all. His power of investing natural things with qualities is very striking. A broad, fine, honest sun. I just thought that had to be the beginning of a tune, like a broad, fine, honest sun lighted up the green pastures. But I knew that it didn't want to be a tune in the sense of a musical would be a tune. In other words, it didn't want to be a broad, fine, honest sun, which is too much a melody. Do you see what I mean? It's got to be much more like an animated chord. A broad, fine, honest sun lighted up the green, lighted up the green, and dimpled water, with the semblance of summer, leaving the summer with the freshness of the year. Bloody good. Try it the other way round. A broad, fine, honest, a broad, fine, honest, the green pasture, and dimpled water, with the semblance of summer, the freshness of summer, with the freshness of the year. And dimples are all one beat. And dimpled water. Now, the words are slightly different here because Dickens does degenerate at this point. Here we go. The ground seemed to spring to their feet. I refuse to set the line, the ground seemed elastic under their feet. The ground seemed to spring to their feet. The sheep bells were music to their ears. Now, I promise you will never have to sing the words exhilarated by exercise and stimulated by hope. Instead you go, and hoping gave them strength, and strength awakened hope. I don't think it's any better, but at least it's rhythmical. And they pushed on, and they pushed onwards. Just stick in an and before they. And then because we've had quite a lot of strength, I think we've had to change strength of lions to courage of lions. It's also marginally less of a cliche. And they pushed onwards with the courage of lions, and so the day wore on. And so the song wore on. Here we go. It stops there, I promise. The ground, let me sing it first. The ground seemed to spring to their feet. The ground seemed to spring to their feet. Yes, it curls downwards and then curls upwards. The ground seemed to spring to their feet.
The ground seemed to spring to their feet.
Yes.
It sounds as if the sound has stood up.
Oh, it does, right.
Spring to my feet. And I wondered that it's not very good yet, but either the grass seemed to lighten their feet.
Quicken their feet, good. Quicken their feet.
Quicken is even better.
Shall we say that then?
He knows he doesn't get any extra for it.
Right. Rewrites, folks. Okay, rewrites. Very good. The ground seemed to spring to their feet. What did we say? The grass seemed to quicken their feet.
The only other thought I had was that in order to avoid two strengths,
yes,
would be to make, instead of and hoping gave them strength.
Oh yeah.
And hoping made them strong, and strength awakened hope. So you've got R-E.
Very good, very good. Who is this person? You obviously just can't suddenly introduce a whole chorus all dressed in straw hats going, abroad for hello, folks, we're here. No. I think over the transition, when we see the fogs of the city disappearing in the distance, then we can just begin keeping a tremolo or something on the orchestra and a hum on the singers, and then that will gradually develop into the song. And similarly, after that song, it will again fade out. And so the day wore on, and so the dance. And we have this technique of interrupting the rhythm so that each singer takes his own rhythm and the whole thing becomes blurred.
Nicholas and Smike have escaped from Dotheboys Hall, and after a short stay in London, they're forced to leave by Ralph. So they take the road to Portsmouth, and Smike begins to live for the first time.
It's such an important section of the Dickens novel. He gives a great deal of space to the idea that leaving London for the country was cleansing and exhilarating, and that in some way it changed Nicholas's perceptions, and it was releasing and revivifying for Smike. And with the resources at our disposal, a bare wooden stage, a sort of industrial landscape all around, I think it would have been impossible to achieve that Dickens intention only visually. And I think that we would have fallen short if we had attempted to do it only textually, only poetically. It wouldn't have been sufficiently clear that somehow going into the country was a turning point.
Very good. Now yes, one moment. We need a lot of work on that. Some of that was wonderful. There's a wonderful moment when and uncradled tonight and so it was wonderful. I mean, 16th century counterpoint. I didn't mind.
Why don't we have a cup of tea?
That's a very.
Yes. Now we're musicians.
Go on, have tea, ladies and gentlemen.
Have a cup of tea. And we'll come back and try to...
Nice to see you. How are you?
Yes.
You look tired.
Even where there's a production need for a music sequence, it's still best if it's prompted naturally from the action of one of the characters. Nunn has an idea how to make this happen.
Smike suggests there's a possible activity that
Yes,
could
I
be
know.
important because he's good at milking cows, just after Nicholas has suggested they might take ship.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Nicholas carefully explains to him that not too much milking of cows goes on board ship, right? Nicholas is amused by that, but couldn't also Smike get the joke, so that for the first time in a play, Smike is laughing.
Yes, that would be very good.
Hey,
yes, Smike?
The ship! On ship! When I was at...
Yes?
I used to milk the cows and groom the horses.
Well, it is a ship, Smike. There's not that many cows and horses on board ship. Well, I don't believe there are.
A broad, fine, honest sun lighted up the green pasture and dimpled water with the semblance of summer, leaving the travellers with the freshness of spring. The ground seemed to quicken their feet. The sheep bells were music to their ears, and hoping made them strong, and strength awakened hope, and they pushed onward with the courage of lions.
Smike, do you have a good memory?
Don't know. I had once, I think, but now, all gone.
Why do you think you had one once?
Because I could remember when I was a child.
Do you remember when you went to Yorkshire? What the weather was like, the day? Hot or cold?
Wet. Very wet. And afterwards, when it was raining, I could see myself. The day I came.
Did you come there alone?
No, man, dark and withered man, they used to say. And I think I remember too. I remember being frightened of him. Glad he went away, but frightened at that place he left me to.
Look at me. Don't turn away. Do you remember anyone or anything or anywhere before that house in Yorkshire? Think, Smike. Think.
A room. I slept once in a room, a large and lonesome room beneath the attic. There was a hook in the ceiling above me. I was frightened of it. Covered up my head. I used to dream terribly about that room. People in it. Things that changed. But that room never changes. Till now, I have not known 2 days together when I haven't been afraid.
He hasn't got a jealous vein in his body. When we all sat around and did those things early on about people given things to research, you know, about cookery and exploration, stuff like that. You were there then, weren't you? Yeah. One of them was diseases, and somebody had, I don't know who had it, but I remember Bob Peck had a whole card of dietary diseases and things. It's a question of detection too. It's all there in the novel. It's just a question of you doing your homework, really. We knew that he must have rickets. Things are not formed. I think I'm right. It's the fontanelles. I'm probably wrong in the pronunciation, but it's here or they don't quite form. And that can't be good for anybody. I mean, they don't form because of the dietary problems. The bones are there's not enough calcium in them. So therefore, by finding out what medically was wrong, in a way, then I just started to cope with it. It's one of those things when you get on top of a character, you kind of work out how to do it. The lung goes, that you start, the lung collapses. You have respiratory problems towards the end, towards Smike's end. He has, the respiratory system goes, the larynx goes. The eyes, you did, I mean, when you've not eaten for a long while, when people fast, anyone who's fasted will know that you kind of get that high. You're on like a high all the time. When people are exhausted or fasted, you get that kind of high. And that's where the kind of eyes came from.
Did you come there alone?
No. Man, dark, withered man, they used to say. And I think I remember too. I remember being frightened of him. Glad he went away, but frightened at that place he left me too.
The Rainbow Theatre in London. The company have now been working on Nickleby for 6 months. The writing, the experiments and the rehearsals go on, but London brings into focus 2 new elements. First, the enormous technical and staging difficulties, and second, the inexorable deadline for the first public performance, now only 2 weeks away.
To look at IN1, rewrite 3.
The RSC have hired this building because they need somewhere to construct the set and rehearse on it before they move to the Aldwych Theatre, which is fully occupied with other RSC productions. Today is the first time the actors have a chance to get to know the single set which will have to see them through 9 hours of performance.
It's not meant to be a pictorial thing in any way. It's a kind of functional thing. We are kind of cladding it with things that give it a flavour of early industrial revolution. You know, so there's hints of echoes of the past coming out of it. It could be a Victorian scaffolding building site or a mill in Yorkshire. Those sort of qualities might come out of it, or even a harbour in Portsmouth. You know, there's going to be costumes and furniture. I mean, just scattered all over it. I think a junkyard, really. But every bit of it should have some purpose. Nothing is there just to be decorative. Nothing is there just to be... even the structure that might look decorative and sculptural actually has to support it. 30 actors running across it.
Paul, I did say that the trucks were not silent. They were not like big Broadway production of the trucks. Would anybody like a ride on it? This is possible, Alistair?
Very smooth. It's very smooth, isn't it?
So what's happened over the last few years, certainly in this company, is that there's been an interest in reducing the decorative elements of productions. Of course, it's basically a financial consideration, and so we must find ways of telling our stories
and using the opportunity to tell them as we have an opportunity in the subsidised theatre, which perhaps a commercial management won't ever have, of telling our stories in a more perhaps severe and more reduced circumstance. What we found, I'm sure, is that suddenly the text is becoming the scenery. You find that you don't need the backdrop of the Highlands, or you don't need to bring an elephant on.
But that we have underneath. Yeah.
And these two tables come on from here.
But there's a tray on there, is there?
Yes. There is a tray, hold it. There's a tray on that table, and we must find out when it got there. It was in the changeover between the two Saracen's Head scenes.
But this is much further forward, isn't it? So that we've got room for this table to come up. That's it. Teddy, if you're up there already, which you should be, you can take this and help set it.
This is the point where we do need our precaution.
Yes.
About the legs of the table, A, sliding, and B, piercing this surface.
Are there any this was further back, wasn't it?
This has actually got wheels. I mean, it seems a myriad conception, this, when you sit in the audience and you see these great couches come on and divans and different sorts of furniture for different classes of people. But in fact, I think we use 14 chairs, and I think we use 2 couches, and they're covered with different things every time they go off into the wings. Do you know what I mean? That, and there are perhaps 7 pieces of furniture, 7 pieces of luggage, and the interest, of course, is in that sort of crossword aspect of it, the logistics of how little you need to tell your story. Not how much, but how, with such a little bit, you can tell the most epic tale. And of course, that's the thrilling part of that. That's what I think that's another key into this production, really. That's actually by using a few objects in a fairly open space, with a fairly elemental set, if you like, with just 2 items that move in and out, just to add a bit of speed to the event, you can actually tell a tale of 1,000 pages in novel form. Sure. Do you know, I think and I think all the work we've done over the last few years has contributed to that. You know, the more chamber aspects of our Shakespeare work.
In the novel, there are a number of spectacular passages, like rearing horses and a variety of coach and cab journeys. The theatrical ways in which the company staged these were to become a notable feature of the production. Here, the company have their first chance to work out on the stage itself the building of a coach to take Nicholas up to Yorkshire.
It's the baggage next, isn't it? The other object that worked very well on top of the trunk was the soft-covered skip, which is way off there at the moment. And I recall somebody arriving with that. Very good. No, and eventually the Snorley trunk has to go up there too. Yeah. So that soft bundle should go on top of the soft-covered skip, and the Snorley trunk should go in the remaining space. Can we conduct one further experiment? Can the rest of the people who are going to travel on the coach now get onto it? That's coming very well. Now, next problem. It seems that the passengers getting into the cabin are fine. It seems that the Snorley boys have got to get round the back and up onto the coach much earlier. The moment your tin trunk has been left there... Yes? If you see a Snorley boy, let him through, because he is trying to get onto the back of the coach. All right.
Probably something that taps them down.
If we're all set, we're not going to do it. Right the way through to the exit of it. Okay.
Oh, dear man, that's all, Mr. Turner. Come, my dear, will you? Take it. Don't want that. That's it.
sister. Jane and Susan.
Goodbye, Mother. To our meeting one day soon. And goodbye, Kate.
You're right.
Of course I will.
Stage leaving! Stage leaving! Everyone to the stage, up and sit fast!
Minutes of bustle!
And the banging of the coach doors!
A swing of the vehicle!
A cry of all right! And a few notes on the horn!
Allocate this up a bit here. Oh, no. You've just got more.
That original decision to do the play in 2 halves spread over 2 long evenings is now causing anxiety. The first play is quite well advanced. The second has some way to go. The script was only finished 3 weeks earlier. Yet Nunn believes they cannot draw back from mounting the whole production as planned.
But if our problem turned out to be that we had an almost shambolic final part to the second play on the first preview, but we just about got something on, I don't think we have any problems. It's a horrible experience to go through, but it's much, much better than not being able to put part 2 on at all.
No, of course not. That's it.
Brave words. I mean, we may not get to either situation.
Yeah.
Just trying to cheer you up.
It's okay.
Yeah, bye-bye.
The 47 actors play over 350 parts, which makes huge demands on John Napier, who also designed the costumes.
I'm designing them by Polaroid as the script comes to me. I usually do very detailed drawings of things, but in this instance, it's just not possible. It's not physically possible to do 350 costume drawings, highly detailed. I'd be sitting down for 6 months just drawing, whereas I've only actually had something like 8 weeks to collect together that many costumes. So I've been grabbing actors from here or from the rehearsal room and taking them for a whole morning to costume hire places and kind of going through the racks and finding all the kind of things that nobody else wants and, you know, kind of assembling costumes on people, because most of them playing about 10 characters. And so I'd put them in, say, a basic dress and then use the Polaroids to see how, by adding something, subtracting something, that you can actually make a person suddenly kind of completely change character.
Oh, hello. How do you do?
How do you do?
Well, what a job you've taken on. You're not doing them all, are you?
No. Yes, it is. My God,
Which ones are you doing in the end? I didn't.
Well,
really...
Mrs. Nickleby, but I don't know about the others. I mean, I literally only heard about this.
Well, that's a handful.
I was asked yesterday.
Don't cut so much hair off that you can't cut any more.
We can't do it shaved if we want, or we can do it short.
But indeed, very short at the sides.
Short at the sides and leave a bit
curiously.
That's what you're thinking of. And it's not at all like that.
One change in play 1.
I keep going from a 9-year-old boy to a milliner, from a milliner back to a 9-year-old boy again.
It's now 1:30 in the morning at the end of a long dress rehearsal. After their journey on the Portsmouth Road, Nicholas and Smike have joined the little touring theatrical company run by the ever-optimistic Vincent Crummles. The first half of the production ends with the sort of patriotic song the Crummles might have sung as an encore. This should have been the first public performance of the first half, but it was cancelled.
You all must be aware of the million and one things that have got to be put right. I think that quite clearly we can do a show tomorrow night. We can get through it, albeit a very long one. But do go home, get rest, get sleep, in the knowledge that you've achieved a fantastic amount today. I think company should come in at 1:30.
Nunn and his colleagues now have to decide urgently on their priorities for the following day.
What we've got to do is a very accurate note session.
But surely we do need to do the coach leaving, for instance.
Yes,
we should do a rehearsal of that.
Yes.
Will you be working this tomorrow afternoon, for example, this scene?
I want to do this for the last half hour of tomorrow.
Because I've got to do some more focusing and some more things. Yeah. Right. Okay. See you in the morning.
Thank you very much, David. Well done.
Well done. But there also, the other problem is there isn't a logic to the curtain call and the encore. There isn't anything inevitable about it. It really does seem that we've reached the end of a very, very long evening.
And then there's another show. Well,
before we leave that thing,
we could, of course, like cutting the prologue in As You Like It. Now is the time, not to waste time, but actually to give that big E to that tune at the end.
No.
Oh no,
that's not at all. Not at all.
The only thing.
I mean, we went through all this 2 years ago.
The answer to every problem that we have is not necessarily to cut your music. I know that's how you feel, that we feel, but that's not so.
The first half opened. The problem now was the second half, which had lagged considerably behind. It had to be ready for the following week, and the pressure was now fully on everybody.
I wish you'd go away. Oh, I hate you all. Oh, Christ.
Have they done the caviar this year?
the equipment for that isn't there.
They really haven't at all.
No,
get the queue in if they haven't.
Now, there is one other bit of narration that we want to cut. Can everybody listen? And this is the last cut, and this is the last thing we're going to say.
That's not it.
Well, can anybody remember it? David?
Catching and Sir Nicholas arriving with the bridge took a lodging at the inn and did not know Stormbreak the next day that their news had arrived already.
So we cut the little bit of storytelling. We just have the image about the dream.
And you're going to cut these
The world before them.
I don't know, I'm going
The
to
world
do it.
before them.
I mean, I'm serious. Honestly, I just made it.
Lila has a changing problem.
I just, by the skin of my teeth, made it.
It's a
Last
very
time.
big one for Lila, isn't it?
By the skin of my teeth.
Yeah.
Forget
But
about
wait a
that.
moment,
That's
if
all right.
only
We'll do it on
people would
Friday.
just let me get ready without bumping into me. Everybody was bumping into me as I was getting ready. You see, by that door, I
Tell
get
you
ready
what,
over there.
we will try it tonight. We will try the cut, and I will get stage management to police that area, and I will
Police
also
that.
make
What
a
is that
tannoy.
sound?
I'll make a tannoy name.
Opera call! Opera call! Sulla sposa so io e già mi ha solo amor. È vero, sì, padre, taci e compiuto, sì, sposati, sì, no, lo dico no, dico davvero no.
This is after Rural Desolation, isn't it?
No, we've had that. We've had Rural.
But have you had the applause at the end of that?
Yes, yes, we've done that.
Yeah.
So this is just the end of the scene. It's 58, and then it has a fade out cue as well.
They're okay.
Yes. Good. I just
Look very good. Give it to Mike. Give it to David.
Before we dress rehearse at 1, I want to see on stage everybody who is concerned with... When I started, I didn't at all realize just how much I was biting off. The technical scale of it, the organizational scale of it, was very much greater than had first been envisaged.
Well, I would.
That's all I can spare you, I'm afraid. This bit of rag.
That'll be...
Just put it round your head or something like that.
The furious final heave succeeded. The play went on.
Good luck all. Thanks. Bye.
The critics were by no means unanimous about the production, but from the beginning, the audiences were. And after a slow start, the RSC's Nicholas Nickleby was increasingly recognised as a unique and brilliant adaptation of Dickens' novel and an enormous popular success. His genius released some wonderful character studies from the actors, whose serious treatment of his writing paid great dividends. Audiences responded, identified and applauded the story of morality and imagination with overwhelming delight.
England arise, join in the chorus. It is a new made song you should be singing. See in the skies, fluttering before us, what the bright bird of peace is bringing. Ah!
See upon a smiling land, where the wealth of nations stand, where prosperity and industry walk ever hand in hand, where so many blessings crowd. 'Tis our duty to be proud. Up and answer English yeomen, sing it joyfully aloud. Evermore upon our country, God will pour his rich increase, and victorious in war shall be made glorious in peace, and victorious in war shall be made glorious in peace. See each one do what he can to further God's almighty plan. The beneficence of heaven help the skillfulness of man. Every garner filled with grain, every meadow blessed with rain, rich and fertile is the golden corn that bears and bears again. Where so many blessings crowd, 'tis our duty to be proud. Up and answer English yeomen, sing it joyfully aloud. Upon our country, God will pour his rich increase, and victorious in war shall be made glorious in peace, and victorious
Vincent Cromwell's. He says, I sometimes think the strain of running a company, and after all, we're not immortal, but it's actually occasions like this that make us understand why we do it, and hopefully why you come to it. Yeah. And if you can accept this coded message, also, in the words of Mr. Vincent Cromwell's, we carry on.